Hey everybody, this is the Sliders Review, and I'm here today to talk to you about why gender bending the MCU villains from male to female don't seem to always work. So, if you've ever watched my channel, you know I am all for diversity and I am all for women empowerment. I could care less if you gender bend somebody, race bend somebody, or change their sexuality and stuff. However, I have noticed something when it comes to the MCU. That's C as in what starts with a C? Chestnuts, cow, cheese, like a C. However, a lot of toxic people online have been calling it the MCU, as in SHE. And because, there's a lot more females joining the MCU, more female heroes, and also they're gender bending the male villains and stuff. And so, I could care less if they bring in female heroes. It's just the way they bring them in. They're not very, interesting and stuff. Like She-Hulk, I really didn't care for that. Miss Marvel, I don't really care for that. I could honestly care less about Echo and everything. I don't know if she's villain, anti-hero, or whatever. But I don't understand why she has her own show. And so who else recently they brought? Oh, just other kind of characters, that just aren't really doing it for some people and stuff. And I've noticed that a lot of the villains have been gender bent. A lot of them were male. And I only have one problem and one problem only with this. It's just that when they gender bend these male villains into female, they're not intimidating. They're not intimidating whatsoever and stuff. And it's just it's a casting problem and it's a writing problem and not really what's that word they do in Hollywood, committing and everything. They're not really committing to the role and everything. See, a lot of these female villains now that they've gender bent in the MCU and everything are really, really, really easy on the eyes. They're really soft. A lot of these people look like they could be fashion models. And in fact, a few of them have been in the past. And the problem is they never, ever, ever look intimidating. They have really small, slender frames. They have no muscle whatsoever. And it's just they're way too glamorous looking and stuff. And even if they're glamorous looking, because that Agatha woman from WandaVision, she's glamorous and everything, but she also looks like she could rip your heart out if she wanted to, because she has that intimidation factor on her face and everything. And that's why she's a great female villain. She's very charismatic and she's very charming. The problem with these other female villains is that they don't have no charisma. And no, I'm not going to say Riz because I'm a little too old to be saying that. I kind of just now found out what that means. But they don't have no charisma to them whatsoever and stuff. And so they lack that grittiness and that grunt that a lot of male villains have. A lot of times when they cast a male villain, they're very they're either bulky as in muscles, or they have some weight to them and everything. It makes them look like an intimidating factor. Another thing is they will cast men that have grittiness to their face. Some will be kind of very intimidating looking. Other ones will be kind of boyish, good looking, but they have that grit to them, that facial hair, that scowl and everything. And then you have others who just, look like they will hurt you and everything. And when it comes to the female villains, you don't get that and stuff. A lot of them just they don't really commit visually to the role. They don't bulk up. They don't have that grittiest intimidation look on their face. They don't have that scowl. They just don't have that it factor for that of a female villain. And another reason is because, like, their characters aren't really written to be all that evil. Some are written to be brainwashed or like dying of a disease or like, something. And it's not very intimidating. And then there's one who's very philosophical and everything. And it's just like they don't have that like scary factor to them. And when you look at like not Tom Holland, but whoever that guy is who plays Loki, he wanted to play Thor. Problem is, he's way too skinny looking. So they made him Loki. And he was perfect as Loki because one, Loki is a very slimy, slithering kind of person, and that's how his character is. His character is extremely jealous. His character is extremely cranky and everything. He's very, very jealous of Thor, and he plays that very well, along with the boyish, like, intimidation factor and stuff. And because he's so sneaky, you don't know what he's gonna do. Then let's go over to DC. You have Zod. Zod is huge. Zod is intimidating looking. Zod has a literal purpose to why he does what he does. And then there's his female villain's sidekick, Fiora, I think her name is. She's short. But when she wears her costume, she looks big and bulky, and she always has that intimidating look in her eyes. She will literally cut your throat if you give her the chance. And because she's super powerful, you're really scared of her. You don't really feel that in the MCU and everything. And so that is a major, 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 major problem to why a lot of people are not investing in all these newer villains and the newer phases and stuff. There is no intimidation factor whatsoever. And so let's do some comparisons between who their comic book counterpart looks like and what we got in the MCU and everything. Let's start with Flag Smasher. Flag Smasher in the comics is this big, broody, like muscular kind of person. Has a silly looking outfit and stuff like that, but for the most part, like, looks pretty intimidating. In the MCU, Flag Smasher looks like just a little teenage girl. She's slim and body size. They try to make her look thick with her jacket and pants, but she still has that slim build. Not only that, but she's too adorable in the face, especially with that hair. And not only that, but she's extremely philosophical in everything. Every time she talks to you, she's talking to you like she's a philosophy major or something like that. That is not intimidating and stuff like that, because half the time you don't even know what the heck she's saying. And her whole goal and motivation is to bring the world back to where it was when Thanos snapped the world out of existence. Well, half of the universe population. Everything was easier for her and her country. There were more resources because there was less people. So she wants to go back to that. And a lot of people in the world feel like, Darwin's like, what is it? Something of evolution comes into play because in the world we live in now, there are way too many people and we're starting to run out of resources and things are getting more hiked up in inflation and prices in the store. So it's like they're trying to make her sympathetic. And when you always try to make your villain sympathetic, it does not always work. It worked originally for Sam Raimi's Spider-Man villains, but then when you start seeing every single last one of them is sympathetic or brainwashed, then it takes away the fun factor of them being villainous and stuff. Ghost. Ghost in the comics has a very creepy look to them. Like, it's very haunting and everything. Ghost in the MCU just looks like a typical MCU costume put on a person and everything. There's no creepiness to it. It just looks like a cool costume. Then when you see the actress underneath, she is gorgeous and everything. And you don't really get that intimidation factor from her. Not to mention, I believe she's been experimented on, and so she's looking for a cure. And that takes away like the fun factor in her being a villain because you feel sympathy for her. Taskmaster looks intimidating in the comics. Big, bulky, and he hones all the skills of a lot of villains and heroes and mimics them and stuff. I don't know if it's because of a certain power or a certain, like, just him training or what, but it's a cool thing. Then you get the MCU version, a person who is literally brainwashed and everything. Doesn't want to do that, but does it because they're brainwashed. The costume on the actress looks all right, and then makes you look intimidating until she takes off her helmet. And this is what she looks like in normal, like regular days. She's very skinny and everything, and there's no muscle. You're not gonna be scared of her and stuff. I don't know what this villain name is because the movie hasn't came out, but it's the Marvels. As you can see, the comic book character just looks crazy, like intimidating and everything. Looks very powerful. Now you get like the actress who's played by the Loki actor's girlfriend in real life or wife. I can't remember which one it is. She has a grill for some bizarre reason, and she's just very slim. She's trying to look intimidating, but it's coming off as weak. And I don't know how the movie's gonna come out yet, so I don't know if she's gonna be a bad villain, like a scary one or not. So I can't really judge on that. I can only judge her by her appearance, and her appearance ain't nothing to be scared of. Now let's shift over to video games. I know it's not part of the MCU, but I wanted to make another point. The Tinkerer. The Tinkerer in the comics is not this intimidating big brute of a man. He's old, he's slender, but he has a scary look to his face. And he's very intimidating because of how smart and evil he is. But his old creepy man face is very intimidating. Now you get to the gender bent one from the video game. It's a female and a teenager at that. And she just looks like sweet and innocent, but then, in her costume looks very flashy and cool. And you're not really scared of the Tinkerer in the video game because the costume is way too cool looking. Then they try to make her sympathetic because she's out for revenge because her brother died because of this company. And once again, she's not bad for the sake of being bad. She has an actual motivation and stuff, a sympathetic one. And, too much sympathy for your villains is not a good thing. So there's never that scary intimidation factor when it's just like you can kind of agree with what they're doing, or you feel sorry for them. Earlier MCU villains were just greedy and evil. Obadiah Stane was just a greedy man who wanted money and power. He was intimidating and he didn't care who he had to hurt or kill. And I'm trying to think of, the Red Skull. The Red Skull is just an evil man who wants to take over the world and stuff like that. And it's sad because you just don't have those evil villains no more. And so that is my only problem. I mean, my only problem when it comes to them gender bending MCU villains and stuff. It's just that I'm never intimidated by them. They don't feel like a Joker. They don't feel like a Lex Luthor. They don't feel like a Thanos. They just feel like supermodels who just put on costumes and stuff. Alrighty, well, I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.